Hello everyone, today I'm going to do a video on how to lube your side dampening tubes. Now, this was requested by Fred P1 from RC Tech. He's based out in Sydney, Australia, and his question was, I'm busy rebuilding the Lightning FX for my son and was wondering how to properly lube the side tubes. Well, it's fairly straightforward, but I'll go ahead with the demonstration and show you how to do it. Um, Now, you want to get some paper towel, some motor cleaner, because what you want to do is basically clean out the tubes from any grit and grime, and you obviously want to remove the old grease that was once functioning as the dampening lube. As you can see there's quite a bit of dirt and grime. Give it a nice blast, and you want to do the same with the actual tube itself. So I'm pretty happy with that. That looks pretty good. So we've got, what you also want to do is maybe just inspect the grooves to see if there's any bits of dirt and grime, which you can see there. And what you can do is take like a knife, just to, or use motor spray just to blast out any bits that might be in the groove. And then you'll take your tube. What I like to do is just kind of clean the outer portion of the tube. Let's make sure everything's all clean. Now you'll see that there's like a little tiny hole in the tube near my thumb there. That will probably, what I like to do is kind of create a bit of a seal so the actual tube kind of blasts out some motor cleaner, which kind of indicates that, you know, the motor spray is going all the way through and cleaning it up. Give it a couple minutes, you know, to dry, because there might be some motor spray inside the tube. But since this is just demonstration purposes, I'm just going to go straight ahead and put the lubricant on. Now, the type of lubricant that you use will vary depending on what manufacturer you have available. I generally use Kyosho or Kyosho oil. A lot of people tend to use the Kyosho oil because it has a low shear rate. What I mean by this is when you put the oil or any form of lubricant, like the silicone oil here, as the tube is functioning, what will happen is like the actual oil will start to kind of lose its holding power, or it starts to shear off and lose its dampening effect. I guess that's the best way to explain it. There are different silicone oils out there where the shearing effect is a lot higher, which means it occurs, it's easy to move the tubes back and forth after a few motions. Whereas the silicone oil by Kyosho tends to be the best choice for dampening tubes that I've seen so far, especially here in Japan. It could be different in other places, but a lot of people use the Kyosho oil. And I do see people using the CRC oil as well, because it tends to maintain its shearing strength, like it doesn't break down and the tube just loses its actual dampening effect. It really holds itself throughout the motion. I hope that I kind of explained that fairly well. I'm no engineer, but anyway, so let's go to it. So we got our silicone oil. So what I like to do is first is take the tube here, the actual tube, and I like just to put a little dab right about there. So that's preparing the, it's slowly lubricating the actual sleeve, the tube, already for me. So what I'm going to do next is take some of the oil, just run it across the grooves, like so. And then, now I haven't gone up to the top here because it's not necessary. The actual dampening effect is going to occur along this range here, all right? So I put my line of silicone oil across the grooves. What I'm going to do is just simply take my fingers and then just run it along the edge. And just do it nice and consistently. As you can see, there's a nice little spiral going on. And then that's that. And then you just finish at the end. And there we have it. Now it's okay if you put too much on. Ideally, you want to be fairly liberal with it, but you don't want to go crazy with it where you have oil spurting out everywhere. Now, all you have to do is simply put it in the tube, and when I put it in the tube, I like to twist it around just so I know that the actual oil is, covering the inside of the tube, like so. Like so. Don't worry about the excess forming around the entrance hole here. And then there you have it. And then it's a good indicator to have oil coming out of this little hole, because that's kind of like the main purpose behind that little hole. It's just to show that, whatever excess oil that is in the tube will come out on the one end here. And all you have to do is simply wipe it off, and then the end bit here, you can just go ahead and wipe that off as well. What I do sometimes is I like to wipe off a little bit of the excess right here, because some may agree, some may disagree that it actually aids in the actual dampening effect, but I don't think it will get to the point where the tube will be like this throughout the roll of the car suspension. So I just like to kind of clean it up around that area right there, because if you can see here, this is where you have a bit of a groove that raises up, which is starting the actual dampening sleeve. So this recess here, if you do have one, you can just simply wipe it off. It's not imperative, but you can do it if you want. But that just kind of keeps that area dry, so it's not attracting grit and grime when it's in this position here. Okay, and that's pretty much it. You just move the piston back and forth. You might get some excess, like so. As you can see there, some of it's popped out. And just move it back and forth, twist it around a bit. And there you have it. That's it. That's all you have to do. And you'll do the same for the other side. And what you want to do is, try to repeat it with the same consistency, and just do a field test. And just feel the one tube back and forth to see how it feels, and then do the other one and do the same. You can also maybe even throw these dampening tubes on G-force shock dyno and just have both of them on both ends. It's a little bit hardcore, and you can just simply push the actual shock dyno, and you can see where the gauge is shifting, which might indicate which dampening tube has too much oil or too less oil. But that's an idea to check if you're really keen on precision. But in general, you're okay with just leaving it the way it is. Just doing a hand test just to see how it is. Now, his next question, it's kind of like a two-part question here. He says, recommend a starting oil for asphalt and carpet racing. Generally, you want to run a lower rating for asphalt. Starting range would be around 7,000 to maybe 15,000. I personally run around 10,000. That really helps out the car, especially for asphalt. With asphalt, I generally run soft side springs, and you want to kind of match the side tube lube with the side springs. So going with a 10,000 dampening oil is the way to go. It's a nice match, I found. I know a lot of other guys, they run 7,000 with soft side springs. So it really depends on the track surface, temperature as well. Tube lube will be affected by the heat. But for carpet, you want to probably start between 15,000 and 25,000. You don't want to go too high with the tube lube, because it can cause the car to jack, which means it can cause the car the rear wheels to lift up. And it can also, when you add too thick of a tube lube, what will happen is it will kind of act a bit like a spring. The friction that is created in the tube lube, if it's too thick, can cause the car to traction roll because it's kind of stiffening the actual pivot action. That's what I've kind of understood from people discussing things on the web forum. But that's pretty much it. When you're running Formula One vehicles, you want to go to a higher viscosity, probably like around, 50,000, 70,000. I know there's a tuning house that offers different side tube lubes for F1. Definitely start with them and work with that because it's just a heavier car, and you really need to do that. Use those oils for that vehicle. But for 1/12 scale, carpet 15, 20,000, asphalt 7,000 to 15,000. But for, I would say, a starting point, 10,000 is good for asphalt. For carpet starting point, for me, I like to start off at 20K, and that seems to be a nice spot for me. Anyway, remember, you have to test and tune different track conditions, different tire conditions. There's lots of variances, but I hope this kind of gets you in the ballpark range. But yeah, generally, building the side tubes are pretty easy to do. I would build them just once for every race meet you go to, club race practice. You don't have to change it every race if you really want to. If you want to get your hands all greasy, if you want to get your hands greasy, go ahead, change it after every race, but it's not necessary. Okay, I hope this was of help. Sorry it was a little long, but that's pretty much it. All right, bye-bye.